What's up? It's your boy, Mikey, coming at you with another video. And today I wanted to talk about a little something. You can still see the Norbit poster. I might lower the poster so people can see it. I don't know. It seems a little too high. Especially with me leaning back and the camera tilted back. I'm trying to relax and feel good. So not long ago, I had done a video on Action Game Maker, and I said some pretty harsh criticisms. This video is not me going back on that. I stick to it. Action Game Maker is pretty terrible. And something that I noticed was a lot of hoity-toity, up on their high horse, I had a few people giving me shit about that review and me criticizing it. And so, obviously you've never worked in professional gaming. No shit, that's the whole complaint. The Maker software, and I'm talking about RPG Maker series, and then of course there was a piece of software called IG Maker, or Indie Game Maker, and after Indie Game Maker, of course, was Pixel Game Maker. Pixel Game Maker, I feel like, was peak. As far as the UI goes, being able to find yourself, being comfortable where you're finding where everything is, and just working within that. I'm ADHD and I'm autistic. So having everything sort of separated like that makes it so much more bearable, so much more easy to have things organized and figure out where things are and use things and whatnot. Action Game Maker is basically just Godot. And by the way, I can't stand Godot. I'm not a programmer. Everything about Godot makes my ass pucker. Okay? My bunghole goes, all right? So at first I thought, okay, cool. They're using Godot as the basis for Action Game Maker. Okay, that's great. That's great. I can't wait to see what they do with the UI. Like, I expected them to change the UI, and then no. Basically, what they did is the bare minimum. They didn't want to spend a lot of time on this. They wanted to throw in a lot of their own little stuff, but at base level, it's just Godot, the UI and everything, where things are stored, where you put your resources and everything, and it's all just kind of cluttered in this one space. And I've tried using it, and last month they had a demo all month long, and I couldn't get used to it. I was constantly lost. I would constantly lose my place. Where was I? How do I get back to this? Where do I click to go back to that? It was such a confusing freaking mess because nothing is separated. All right, they're not separated in their own tabs. They're not organized. Okay, it's a terrible workflow if you're not a programmer, and that's one of the key things I'm trying to get across. The RPG Maker series, the Maker series from Interbrain, Katakawa, so on and so forth, they're meant to be easy. They're meant to be for people who aren't technical, who aren't programmers. It's supposed to be easy to use. That is not easy to use. It is the exact opposite. I had some struggles at the beginning with Pixel Game Maker, but as I messed with it, it got better. It wasn't that bad, and I am so proficient in Pixel Game Maker, and I was just using it the other day working on some things. But Action Game Maker isn't that. They threw out everything, and from what I understand, they refused to change it. Here's what I would do. And it's kind of like what they did with RPG Maker Unite. So here's what I would do. I would make a faux front, a faux interface. Like the original interfaces and stuff is still in the background for other little things that you might want to do. But at the forefront is a UI that's easy and comfortable to use without altering the UI underneath it. That's my pitch to the developers. They will probably not want to listen to this fat bald man and his feedback, but that's my thing. Is it needs a better UI. It needs something where things are a little more separated, and basically it would just call back to the stuff that's underneath it. All right, which is what RPG Maker Unite does. By the way, I don't think RPG Maker Unite is great, but I do think it's better than what's being done with Action Game Maker. So my suggestion to the team, and it's something I'm trying to get across here, is you need to do similar. make a UI that's like a faux UI that's easy to move things around and organize and everything, and then have the other stuff underneath. And then if it gets to a point where there's these few things here and there you want to do that you can't do under with the simple AI, or not AI. God damn it, I hate AI. Why am I talking about AI? The simple UI, the simple interface. You can then go behind the simple interface, go in and add little tweaks here and there. But overall, you would have this faux UI that's easier to use, easier to navigate, and easier to work with, something closer to Pixel Game Maker. It's a suggestion. I don't know how possible it is. It's a UI that's just sitting there at the front, making it easier and making it less annoying. And that's my suggestion. I just people coming in and being snarky assholes, because yeah, there was a very snarky asshole. He's one of those. I hate snarky assholes. Don't be snarky. If you're going to come to my channel, be civilized, be kind, be civilized. Yeah, be civilized. That's the basic thing. Be civilized. There's no need in coming in and going, you're clearly not, or clearly have never worked in professional game development. You come in acting like a snooty little dillhole, and I'm not going to listen to you, right? Come in with politeness. Like, I don't think there's anybody in Japan that would do that. In fact, I wish I spoke Japanese. I would be probably more. I would probably be more entangled into the Japanese side of things, because I've seen them be pretty polite. I like politeness. They're not snarky. They're very prudent in what they prudent. Is that the right word? They're very civilized in what they have to say. They don't come off snarky or snooty or snobby or anything like that. They're pretty straightforward and but also respectful. So, and that's what I like, and I wish Americans would learn. I wish Westerners would learn to be like that. But you can't. This guy came on. I can't remember their name. Came in just. I didn't read everything they had to say because the first few lines was just being a jerk. And I just kind of wanted to make another thing and just talk about it a bit more. It's still bad. I used it for an entire month, tried to anyways, and I just couldn't get into it. I couldn't deal with it. I was always getting lost. I would go from one thing trying to bounce back and forth between different things, trying to do things. And I was like, wait, where was I? Wait, how do I get back to that one thing I was at? Maybe if I just click this, and it just would make it worse. I'd click that or click this. I'm trying to come up with an example. I just remember the frustration of what I was trying to do. I was animating something, but then I decided to bounce because I'm, like I said, ADHD and autistic. I can't keep focusing on one thing. I have to go to something else. But then when I tried to get back to it, I would get lost. I would click the wrong thing. I would end up closing one thing or deleting another thing. Like everything being cluttered in there like that and not being sorted out and not having a UI that's easy to navigate and has a good workflow. It's bad. Pixel Game Maker, again, I feel like, yeah, they're or not Pixel Game Maker, but Action Game Maker and Godot, they are for technical people. It is for technical people who program, who are programmers. I'm not that. And the UI reflects that. It's made by very technical people for technical people. I'm not that. A lot of people who would want to probably get this are not that. So, and I questioned early on when Action Game Maker was first announced, when they started leaking information. Oh, leaking isn't the word. They started doing the Moreno. I can't remember his name. It's Moreno, right? Moreno. I can't remember. Started doing his producer letters, and more and more information came out. It was like, so it became abundantly clear this is just Godot, and then they wanted to charge like $100 for this, and I'm like, what? Something that's free, that has plenty of plugins that do a lot of what you're trying to do, but something that's free, you want to charge $100 and do the bare minimum. It feels like the bare minimum. It's early days, and maybe they'll figure this out. Take my suggestion to heart. create a faux UI over top of it. A faux UI, easy to navigate. Have it automatically sort things where it has to go in the real UI, in the real editor. I don't know if this is possible. And then leave it, of course, open to where you can go to that and work with that. That's what needs to be done here to make it easier to use. Right now, it's not easy to use. It's not easy to tackle for people who aren't technical. Like, it's lacking something. And there was a word I used before. Now I can't even remember the word. But it's just usability. It's having something that somebody who's not a programmer can get into and work with. I mean, the whole reason I'm still in Photoshop and I haven't even gone to, like, I tried Affinity. I don't like Affinity. Things are not in the same place. If Affinity had everything in the same place and it worked relatively the same, I wouldn't have a problem with Affinity, and I would go to Affinity, and I would probably stick with Affinity. Or the same thing with Godot. But Godot and Affinity are not Photoshop. Photoshop is so easy to use to do the things I want to do and the things I want to get done. I've done so much with Photoshop. It was easy from day one. That's the thing. Like, it just feels like there are people who know how to build a good UI. They know how to put things to where you can learn it and it's not too overwhelming. That's the other thing. There's people that know how to do that, and there's people that don't. Pixel Game Maker was them creating a good UI. You could find things, you could sort things, you could reference back to things. It wasn't hard. Things were sorted. It's good. It has a good workflow. Action Game Maker doesn't. Godot doesn't. Unless you're very technical. It just seems to be for people who are of a certain mindset, a certain way of thinking. I can't. I have tried over and over and over again, and it's so frustrating. They've had two different demo courses, I guess you'd say, two different demo phases. Like, they had this first demo thing where it was short, very short demo. Then they had a month-long demo. People could try it for free for a month. I still couldn't figure things out and get things right. There's just so much about it that's just way too different from the previous one, which was great. And you were expecting people to learn all new stuff. And that's why I said early on when the software was being developed, who is this for? Who are you targeting for this? Are you targeting people who already use Godot? Because I can tell you now, they're not going to give a damn. Or are you targeting your own base who just wants more features, but would much rather still be using the same UI and pretty much the same workflow and everything that is present in Pixel Game Maker, which is great. They chose Godot. They chose to try to appeal more to them. Or it's just, like I said before, it's like they wanted to do the bare minimum. Get used to this UI. Get used to learning this. Basically, learn Godot. And then we're going to throw in our flow chart, our event creation flow chart. We're going to throw that in there. We're going to make that something you can use. Otherwise, it's Godot. No. Please, God, no. No. How about no? So, yeah, I cannot give it a good review. And I will continue to not give it a good review. If they can ever figure this out, I might be skipping it's almost a certain that I'm skipping Action Game Maker. And whatever they come up with next, if I'm not too old, hopefully they'll learn their lessons and make something better. I think I can go right now to the reviews on the store page right now for this maker, and I believe that it's not, like it's still just last time, at this point in the last maker that they had. Let's go to the desktop real quick. This point in time with their last maker, they didn't have mixed. They had good. They had positive. They had mostly positive at this point out of all reviews. Now it's just mixed. It's either been negative or mixed. They have to realize they're doing something wrong. They have to realize that they can't take this easy. They need probably a bigger budget to actually work on this. I mean, it's $100 freaking. Look at this insanity. It's a stop that. It is $100. It's $99.99. You want to know how much Pixel Game Maker is? Let's go to Pixel Game Maker. How much was it in comparison? It was $84.99, and then of course you had the sales. You're asking a lot. All right, you're asking a lot for something that's just Godot, and you're asking a lot of people who are not technical. This is a horrible UI. This is a mess. This is everything cluttered into one space. Like having all this stuff down here in the quote unquote file system. Instead of having it in a file system like this, I would have much rather them had tabs going this way and then having whatever subfolders you want. So you have an objects tab. You have because I think that would help. Things of that nature. Being able to separate things more. It's Godot that's the problem. It's Godot that's the problem. It's not software that's meant to be easy to use. It's for technical people. I'm never going to get used to this. I've tried so hard. I can't get used to this. This is not good. This is bad. See, there's their flowchart thing, which they improved. I will give them that. They improved that. It is now like their original, and they got the color tabs and everything. It's pretty cool. But it's not the same. It's not great. I just want to see them separate things into a more organized and a better workflow. This is not it. And also the animation the animator, where you go in to create animations is bad. The one that they chose is not very good. It's very confusing. There's two different ways to animate. Two different ways that you can do animations. And they only chose this one thing for animation that's honestly really bad. Like the one that I would have preferred using to create animations, they did not use. And instead they used the other one, and I can't remember what they're called. I just know that there's two ways to make animations, and the one that they decided to go with is so tedious to use. And I don't know, maybe that's not really their fault. I'll tell you what I would like to do. Currently as it stands, the tile sets and everything you work with are down here. I would have it over here like in Pixel Game Maker. I would change it all around to be more like Pixel Game Maker. That might help people with their anxieties and whatnot to an extent. I don't know. They basically just took Godot and threw in their objects thing with their flowcharts and everything. Their flowchart programming thing that they have here. I think they use a different word for it, but it's a flowchart. I don't know how much more I can say. And I'm trying to get it across to people that this software series is meant to be easy. It's meant to be for people who are not professionals. You absolute horrible people. You absolute ignoramuses who came in being snarky. It's not meant to be difficult. None of the series is. The RPG Maker series on up to MZ is easy. It's got a good workflow. It's easy to understand everything separated. And they followed that philosophy with Pixel Game Maker. That philosophy carried over with Pixel Game Maker. See if I can get it to launch. Come on. I still hate this logo. This logo is terrible. This is a terrible logo. I'm just saying. It's taking a bit to kick in. Oh my God. So they followed a similar philosophy for Pixel Game Maker. You have all this down here. This is similar to RPG Maker. Let's turn RPG Maker on. Where's RPG Maker? Oh, come on. Really? Oh. Let's open up MZ. This video is going to be longer than I want it to be. Let's open up MZ real quick. And I'm going to show you what I'm talking about here. Here's my project that I've been slowly working on. All right. So do you notice the similarities between Pixel Game Maker and here? Here's all your maps. Here's Pixel Gamer. Here's all your maps. Look at that. If you go to load up tiles, well, first we'll pick a map. Let's pick this area. Look where your tiles are showing up. Look where your tiles are showing up. Here's tile sets, tile set after tile sets. All your tiles that you're going to use are up in here. Similar, they follow that same philosophy in RPG Maker. Why is it not going to RPG Maker? They followed a similar philosophy in RPG Maker. Map tree, that's not what I'm trying to do. Oh, it was under the events. Sorry, that was events. See, similar design philosophy. It's very easy to find. Look at that. If you use RPG Maker, you can use Pixel Game Maker. Will you go back to Pixel Game Maker? Here we go. And here's Pixel Game Maker. You know, again, here's RPG Maker. Let's go back to RPG. Go over there and quit being a pain. And you come up here and you'll go into where is it at? Database. Yeah, and here's all the stuff for actors and all this other stuff. All right, I'm trying to show you. They follow the same philosophy in Pixel Game Maker. You know, and then you'll come over here to objects, and I think the only difference is instead of going to that other screen with all its tabs, it's all lined up here. So we have objects, we have resources. Under resources, we have images, fonts. It's all organized. It's a good workflow. And it worked out for them. But they abandoned it. They abandoned it and they abandoned. You wake up, damn it, son of a bitch. Oh my God, I hate when it does this. Why are you doing that? I hate this. Wake the fuck up. Like, what are you doing? Wow, what is happening here? What the fuck is wrong with my fucking thing? I don't know what's wrong with it. It's not working right. What the hell? What is happening? Anyhow, we'll just close this. Close it. Close it. Anyhow, so point being made here in a very long video is they abandon all of this in they abandon all of it in Action Game Maker. They abandon it for Godot. They just abandoned it for Godot. They threw it completely out and then then they had excuses for why they couldn't go back to an easy to understand interface like that. A very good workflow like that. Oh, hurts here. But they threw it out. And it's just Godot and just hastily minimal effort kind of thing going on. They had this excuse for not wanting to break anything and whatnot. Don't make excuses, make changes. Don't act like it's impossible. Do something. You just didn't want to spend the time on it. You wanted this to be low effort, get it out there, make money. That is not the way to approach this. And I know that's insulting to the developers. Not really meant to be. But why does it do this? It doesn't want to bounce between the two makers. But yeah, like this is easy to use. Nope. You know? This is the easier of the makers. You know? This is the easier to comprehend. Wow, I can't see anything through the fog. Anyhow. So, yeah. Again, I didn't mean for this video to go on so long. But I don't want another idiot coming in here and not understanding what's going on and being a snarky a-hole. Don't come in here being a snarky a-hole. Do you know what happens when people are snarky or rude and snooty or just rude and act like jerks? I remove their comments and oftentimes I ban them. I know that's a very, how do I say this? That is a very Philip Burnell thing to do. I know. But I shouldn't have to tolerate that kind of stuff. I don't do that with everybody, by the way. Like, if you're just being friendly or silly or whatever, trying to help me, like, I've seen Philip Burnell just let me talk about this for a second. People try to be helpful and he bans them, he acts crazy. I don't do that. I just don't like dealing with people who are jerks. Okay. I think I've gotten my point across. And Action Game Maker is still bad. The UI is still bad because it's still Godot. I don't like Godot's UI. It's not easy to use. It's not easy to understand. Do not come to my chat. Do not come into the comments section being a snarky a-hole. You clearly haven't worked in professional game development. No shit, I haven't. No fucking goddamn shit have I. No shit. No shit. That's my whole argument. You made my argument for me. Is that it's not for people who aren't technical, who aren't professional programmers. It's like they're literally trying to make money off those folks. There's plenty of other ways to go for people to go if they want to do that. Hell, Game Maker, it's just called Game Maker, is free to use on your computer. It just costs money when you want to publish to a platform. Brilliant. Brilliant. And if I wanted to deal with stuff that was more technical and more difficult to learn with a learning curve, I would just use Game Maker. If I wanted Godot, I would use Godot. I don't want Godot. I don't like anything about Godot. And I'm sure I'm not alone. And that is exactly why when you go right here into their store page, this is exactly why when you go to the store page, it says mixed. And not mostly positive or just positive. It just says mixed. It's not been good for a while. And I know people will say, well, it's early days. It's not just that. It's their approach to this entire thing. And I am hoping that eventually they fix this. Otherwise, this maker is not going to do as well as past makers, especially not for this price tag. All right. This has been Mikey. That's all I got to say about this. Later.